A new episode of Behind the Lens is getting ready to start. And today I'm not going to talk about a specific picture, but I had so many people ask me about my expedition to Africa looking for the primates. So welcome to a new episode of Behind the Lens. 2013, out of the blue, about August, I received a phone call, which of course I knew it was about taking pictures somewhere, so I answered the phone and it was the magazine and asked me, do you want to go to Uganda, Africa? And I'm like, of course I want to go. And it's going to be about the end of September, which usually is the raining season. Raining season means that it's going to rain a lot. It means that you're going to get soaking wet. It means that it's going to be a little bit chilly. But the goal was looking for the primates, the gorillas. Well, yes, let's do it. I don't care about what time of the year it is. I want to go. Long story short, they sent me like a checklist about what to bring, what not to bring, what to wear, what kind of lenses they suggested me to bring with me, and the kind of the trip, right? We are going here, there, etc. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I want to do it. I got my checklist. I'm ready to go. I flew out from Bologna. Bologna, I actually don't remember, but destination Kampala. Kampala, capital of Uganda, Africa, and that's where somebody was there waiting for me to pick me up. And on the first night, I landed. I was very tired, but very excited. It was very dark in the night, so I couldn't see anything. But I remember very well that in Kenya, during that time, there was a civil war. So there were a lot of soldiers all around the borders at every airport, so at Kampala's airport as well. So when I landed, they checked all my bags, they checked for the visa, they checked the passport, good to go. This guy came to pick me up. So for the first night, I actually been invited to sleep at the Italian consul of Uganda. It was a nice house. I spent the night over there, and I remember very well a great breakfast in the morning, and they really treat me as a king. And then the tour guide came to pick me up. I met with the videographer and ready to go. So we started to drive in this Jeep, and the roads are not paved, so there was a lot of shaking, and we headed to the Impenetrable Forest. The Impenetrable Forest, it's in Burundi, Africa, and that's where the gorillas are. Now, I want to make clear, it's not that the gorillas are right there waiting for us. But before we got there, we actually had another stop looking for the chimpanzee. And that's where my journey started to be a little bit, I want to say, awkward. So we go into that forest, not the windy, impenetrable forest yet. We go there, we stop to another forest looking for the chimpanzee. Chimpanzee lives on the trees, so you're not going to find them around you. They actually are going to find you. We start to walk, and I remember I had the 300 lens on one shoulder and the 24-70 on the other shoulder with my two cameras. I didn't bring for that trip nothing else, for that day nothing else, because I knew that they were on the tree or they will come to me. We start to walk, and you can hear them. They are above us. They are very curious, so they come to you to check what's going on, who's over there. Of course, we're not allowed to touch them, and out of the blue, I felt, because I was looking up, right? I was looking up with my camera ready, and I felt in this gigantic hole. But I felt with just one leg. So I was like one leg completely in, the other leg completely out. And you know, the first step is save the lens, because it's your baby, right? You gotta save the lens. So I'm falling into that huge hole with the lens in my hand. And I remember that the tour guide and the other two people that were with me tried to help me to, you know, get me out of the hole. In the meanwhile, one chimpanzee was actually more curious than the others, and he came down, not to check on my status, but he just came down from the tree to check on us, what's going on there. And that's where I grabbed my lens. Of course, it was hurting, my knee was hurting, my ankle was hurting, but it didn't matter. The chimpanzee was there. I grabbed the lens and I tried to take some pictures, but the lens was all foggy. Why? Because it was very humid. By the way, I didn't mention it was raining, so it was very humid. And because when I walked, the lens was touching my body, the heat from my body and the humidity created this kind of fog on the lens. But I was all wet, and what I tried to do was, with my shirt, try to wipe the lens to clean it up, because the chimpanzee was there. Of course, I made it worse, and it was kind of funny because, you know, you try to take the picture of your life, right? The best picture ever, and nothing was going right. I took some pictures. I managed to take some pictures with the other lens. Not great pictures, honestly. The chimpanzee got scared pretty quickly. The chimpanzee went back on the tree. I tried then to use the long lens. I did take some pictures, because in the meanwhile the fog went away from the lens. Not the pictures, just some pictures. You know what I mean. I liked them, great experience, but I wasn't very excited about those pictures. Middle of the day, get back to the truck, driving to Buindi, the Impenetrable Forest. It was getting dusk, so we didn't start the hike, and they gave me one tent. And I tell you the truth, I wasn't ready for a tent in the middle of the Impenetrable Forest while it was raining. I just wasn't ready. I knew I was going to be in a tent, but I wasn't ready. Overall, because in September, the light disappeared, the sun disappeared very, very early, like 5 p.m. So it was 5 p.m. in a tent, no electricity, no internet, of course, so phone, you know, was working for a bit, and then I didn't know what to do. But it was so humid that even if I was in my sleep bag, I had to wear a couple of layers of clothes because it was very, very humid. But because my journey just didn't start with the right foot, I lost a crown on one of my tooth. And because of the humidity, I don't know if it was the humidity, it was hurting so much. And I remember I called my wife and I started to complain. I want to come back home. I don't want to stay here. I'm in a tent. I'm wet. It's humid. Everything hurts. The lens is getting foggy every 10 minutes. I was complaining and complaining and complaining. I fell asleep at some point. And the morning, because the sun sets very early, the sun rises very early too. And I remember, I tell you the truth, the best wake up of my life. Butterflies around, the chip chip of these birds all around. You know, when you wake up and you're like, where am I? Wow, this is so cool. It was still hurting. They gave me a painkiller pill, so I felt a little bit better. And by the way, no matter what, it's going to be the best day ever, because we are going to find the gorillas, right? We are going to look at least for the gorillas, not knowing if we were going to find them or not. All right, we start the journey. We get at the bottom of this mountain, and they tell me, all right, we don't know where they at. We are going to start to hike this mountain, and we don't know when and if we are going to find them. So we got to carry our sleep bag. We are going to carry everything, because just in case we don't find them today, we are going to sleep up there, and we are going to keep looking for them tomorrow and the day after. And again, I wasn't ready. I'm like, really? Are we going to sleep there? And it was raining, it was muddy. I was just in a bad mood. And they tell me, well, you need a stick. You're not going to able to climb the mountain with all the weight in your back without a stick. So they gave me the stick. And they told me, you need a porter. And my English is not that good. And I didn't understand what the porter was. I'm like, the porter? What is a porter? So a bunch of kids, about 10, 12 years old, showed up. And we were 8 people. There was myself, Peter, the cameraman, the tour guide, 2 soldiers with the gun, and the macere opening our way into this impenetrable forest that is not just a random name, it's an impenetrable forest. You need to make your paths into it. And 3 people, 1 lady and 2 men, that are studying gorillas since years and years and years. And they asked us if they could join us, and of course, the more knowledge we can get from them, the better experience will be, so why not? So they gave us 5 kids, called them porters, and I said, what are they gonna do? Well, they know that forest better than anybody else, because they grew up in the village just at the bottom of that mountain. So they know those areas, and they used to get up and down. And I'm like, okay, but why do we need them? Long story short, we start to hike that mountain. And believe me, after 100 feet, I was already gone. I started to sweat. I was already wet because it was raining, it was muddy, so I was slipped here and there, and I had 30 pounds of gears, right? Peter had the camera, the battery, so all the equipment was on our backpacks, and the food, the sleep bag, and the kid, that his name was Eric, told me, do you want me to carry your bag for you? and again, I was rude, I know, now I know. I've been rude, and I kind of laughed, and I said, really? You're 10 years old. How can you carry 30 and plus pounds of gear on your shoulder? And overall, my thought was, what if you fall? What do we do if you fall with my equipment on you. So no, I'm good, thank you. And we keep going. And we became friends, right? We have a journey together going up. And we go up, and I'm tired. And at some point, Eric asked me, do you want me to carry you? I'm like, really? No, I'm good, thank you. Let's keep going. And the lady that was actually in our group at some point was very tired. And we couldn't stop because just in case we wouldn't find the gorillas, we needed to reach a certain point where we could be kind of in a flat area to set up the tent and the sleep bag. So we couldn't stop, but she couldn't go any further. And Eric was my porter, but Eric said to the lady, do you want me to carry you? We can go up, so I'll help you. And he carried this lady like it was nothing. And the lady was on her 60s. I, of course, don't know how much weight she was, but he carried her and he started to hike this mountain like nothing ever happened. And I'm like, whoa, okay. And I keep complaining and I keep sweating and I keep slipping. And at some point, Eric asked me, can I ask you a personal question? I'm like, sure, ask me. Well, we are here. There's nothing else to do than keep walking. And he said, why are you wearing tennis shoes and also white? And at that moment, something clicked in my mind, and I realized that what he wanted to know was like, why are you so unprepared hiking a mountain that you knew before? Did they not tell you what to wear shoes-wise, outfit-wise? And they actually did. They told me to bring trekking shoes, but I thought, well, we're going to find the gorillas. The gorillas are going to be there. I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready with my outfit. I wasn't ready with my shoes. I just wasn't ready. And that's why I started to complain. The complaint was not about the journey, not about the trip. It was about myself not being ready. By the way, was one of my first expedition with the magazine. So I didn't want to disappoint them, but I was disappointed about myself. We keep going. I told him, yes, I don't know why I'm wearing white tennis shoes that at that point were not white anymore because the mud was pretty bad. But because I was wearing tennis shoes, the grip was about 0. So every time I made 2 steps up, one was slipping back down. So it was even harder for me to going up. But, I'm an adult. Nobody will ever tell me, hey, you don't have the right shoes. People think like, hey, you know what you're doing, probably, we guess. Well, I didn't know what I was doing. But anyway, at some point, the 2 guards, soldiers that they were opening the patch for us, said, hey, we found the nest where they slept probably the night before or a couple of nights before, so they are not going to be that far. So let's drop everything, food, extra, the sleeping bag, the tent, let's drop everything here, carry just the cameras and the lenses that you want to carry, and we are going to find them probably within an hour or so. Okay, so we drop everything. Of course, we drop any kind of food. And the special tour guide that lives in that area, that knows the gorillas because he's been there before, told us, all right, so guys, be careful. When we find them, make sure that you don't touch them. And I laughed again. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't touch them? I brought a long lens because I thought the gorillas would be all over there. What do you mean don't touch them? Yeah, they will come towards you. They will come to you. And we will sit. And we will let them understand that we are not a threat. They might touch you. But don't move your arms, don't do any strange movements, because if they get scared, they're gonna might attack you. Okay, so let me grab even a wider angle from the back before we leave everything here. So I grab both lenses. I grab both cameras with two lenses. I had the 24-70 and the 120-300. I didn't grab the 300 straight lens. I didn't grab the 500 straight lens, which I had with me, because if they will come closer to me, I needed to make sure that I had a kind of a zoom where I could go wider. Cannot miss the shot, right? And they also told us, once we find them, we are not gonna stay there longer than 1 hour. After 1 hour, we are gonna leave and we are gonna let them go. All right, fair enough. Keep opening the patch road. Finally, boom, the gorillas are right there. When I say right there, I mean 100 feet away. So what we did was we sat in a circle. And what actually happened was that they came towards us. And this is where the excitement begins. And I'm telling you, even if it happened 11 years ago, the first time I've been there was 11 years ago, I still have goosebumps every time I tell this story. So they came towards us and they sat with us, as you know we do with our kids. The group was about 7 gorillas. There was the silverback, and there was 1 female, and there were about 4 or 5 babies, and this is one of the baby. All right, so the silverback just stood behind us for the entire time. He never approached us. He always checked the situation. He always checked that nothing went wrong. But I can tell you that the silverback recognized the tour guide right away. And that's the reason why he didn't come to smell us. He probably smelled us. He didn't really need to come that close. So the silverback was not hidden, but kind of behind a bush. And he stood us for the entire time. And you can see how kind of worried he was. But not worried because he thought we could do something. He was worried because the babies were there. The mom said, the female, I don't know if it was the mom of the babies or if it was the mom of all the babies, because we then saw another female, but she never actually came into that group. She sat with us and she let the babies sit with us. Problem was, which is not a problem, but that's how the story is, one of the baby came on my leg and he started to play with my shoes, with the laces. And that's where I had to drop the 120-300 lens and grab the 24-70 because it was literally here. It was here on my legs, and he started to touch me, to pull my hair, play with my fingers, and I wasn't shaking because for me taking the pictures was a priority. You know, it's my job. But you cannot understand, and it gets emotional for me to tell the story still, because you cannot understand the feeling having not just one baby gorilla on my legs, but having the whole family around me. I took so many pictures, I couldn't stop, and the baby was pulling the lens, was trying to look what was going on. I showed the baby the camera with the pictures. He was with the finger try to touch himself, that he could see through the little screen of the camera. And it was, again, the best experience of my life. The hour went so fast, but in that hour I've been able, we couldn't talk, so Peter kept filming everything. I took pictures of the fingers, I took pictures of their little particulars of the ear, and every time I looked those pictures, my first thought is, oh my God, they look so much like us. But then I realized, technically, we look so much like them. And it's been an amazing experience. At some point, the silverback stood even taller. Oh my God, he was huge. He was huge. And he started to do what we see on TV, like, right? The Tarzan thing, like, oh! He started to scream, and he regrouped. So the female stood up, the babies followed the mom, I believe, and they just left. We've been told very quietly, let's not follow them. It's time to let them go. We let them go. And then the adrenaline started to drop down. And then I started to shake because I realized, oh my God, what an experience. And then we moved back where all our belongs, where we grabbed everything. And I can tell you this, I remember how hard it has been to go up. We hiked for almost I cannot say one day, but 5-6 hours. I remember I told everybody, guys, if you want to push me down the mountain, I don't care anymore. I did it. I experienced I cannot even explain how big, majestic, great, and polite he was. I cannot explain how cute he was, and it was kind of heavy to have him on my legs, but I didn't care. I've been amazed on their gesture, on their movements. It's been amazing. And then I couldn't stop talking, going down that mountain. We've been able to approach the tent, which was like our base, camp base. It was already dark, but not night. It was just 7-8 p.m. So with the torch, we've been able to find our patch back. And I remember very well. I took my shoes off, I washed them, and I gave it to Eric. Of course, they were way bigger than his size, but it didn't matter because he was so happy about it. And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned through that fantastic journey is that we are very spoiled. I am super spoiled and I don't even realize it. When I say that they don't have anything, but they have something that we will never have like they do, and it's happiness. In their nothing, they are so happy. And just a pair of dirty, used shoes made that kid the happiest kid in the entire world. We gave away, before we left, our clothes, we gave away candies, and you had to see their faces. They were so excited and so happy. And what I complain about, oh, it's raining, I'm gonna get wet, it's humid, oh, it's muddy, in a tent. So the happiness is not about what we have, it's about how we manage and be satisfied of what we have. And again, it's been so far the best experience of my life. I've been able to go back 3 or 4 more times, but I will never forget how unprepared I was, but I've been able anyway not only to bring some really cool pictures home, which, by the way, it was my job, but I've been able to bring and to keep in my heart not just Eric's smile, but the experience that I had being in a place where at the beginning they told me, do you want to take a shower tonight? I'm like, why are you asking me? Well, because if you do, we need to bring a bucket of water and there will be somebody pouring the water on you while you're taking the shower. And for me, everything was so crazy, like, why? What are we talking about? But then I realized that that's not important. If you remember, I told you at the beginning of the story, the best wake up morning in my entire life, butterflies, birds everywhere. And when I opened the tent, there was a baboon that just pooped on my zip of the tent. Of course I complained because that's what I do best. I was grumpy, like, oh, the baboons everywhere. But really, today, I will pay to be there tonight. Why? Because the sound of the nature, the birds, giraffes, zebras, chimpanzee, gorillas, butterflies, hippos, elephants. Did I mention lions? Yes, it's the best experience of my life. Let me tell you again, and I say goodbye after that. Uganda, Africa, windy, impenetrable forest. This is one of the biggest story of my life, the biggest dream come true, the best experience of my life, of my photography career. I've been able to play with a gorilla, I can tell you that. The gorilla has been able to touch me, play with my shoes. I had the gorilla on my lap for almost an hour. He touched me, he played with my camera. It almost took a selfie with the camera. Could I ask for more? No. So that's the story behind these pictures. As you can see, they are right here next to me. And for whoever is interested to hear and listen more stories about not that trip, but still in Uganda. I will tell you next time the story about a lion sleeping on a tree, a lioness pregnant, but that is another story. So thank you for being with me for this very long journey. Behind the lens, it's over for tonight. Bwindi Impenetrable Forest National Park in Uganda, Africa. That's it for the night. Thank you so much. Don't forget to follow me, subscribe to my channel to being able to follow me through my journeys, through another stories behind the lens, different videos about behind the shots, and just follow me and you won't regret. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.